Welcome to the Sales Whisper Podcast, session 39. This one is major. Welcome, my friend, to the 39th edition of the Sales Whisper Podcast. It is Sunday afternoon, February 2nd, about 3.5 hours before kickoff of Super Bowl 48. I am predicting a Peyton Manning victory. So we'll see how good my instincts are in just a few hours. I've had a busy week. I've got Major Mom on today. She has a great story I think you will find interesting. We get down to some nitty-gritty as well on how she rose from rock bottom to building up her business and her plans to continue that growth. I spent the week out at Infusionsoft with my new sales guy, Richie. So getting him trained up, it's been interesting. It's showing me where I can improve my own business. You know, when you do things on your own, you do them differently than if you had a team. And so it's been a while since I've had a sales guy. I've only had one for a short time. And honestly, I gave him too much leeway, thinking he had too much experience. And I've always known I'm not a great sales manager. I am a fast mover. I am impatient. So having a team around me to help nurture Richie is a good thing. And also, you know, a little older now, matured a little since I was last in sales management about a decade ago. So it's a good thing, pushing me. I cannot reach my goals without growing my team, growing myself, improving my own processes. So as I've always said, I eat my own dog food. So I'm following my own processes that I teach others to improve my own business. I got a little sick last week, annual sinuses, took a nap almost all day yesterday, feeling a little better. So wanted to now finish this up, get this podcast out. I had a great month in the podcast in January. Downloads were triple what they were in December. So let's see if we can do that again in February. And by the end of the year, my goal is to make this one of the leading business podcasts on iTunes. And I do that with your help. Please take a moment to share this podcast with your friends and family. Share it. Make comments on iTunes. Give it a 5-star rating and leave comments on the website. You know, this will be thesaleswhisper.com/session39. Leave some comments there. Ask questions. I'll do my best to get to all of those and respond to them, answer questions, provide feedback as best I can. Another area that has grown in my business lately is in my writing. And as you know, I just finished my second book, and you can get a free sample at 79stories.info. That's the number 79stories.info. Sign up there and you get 14 of the 79 stories you can download as a PDF. Then when you're ready to buy, you know what? Go ahead and buy it while you're there as well. Just $14.95. And for future books that you want for free, I don't have this yet as an audiobook, but you get your first audiobook for free at wesaudiobook.com. Now, without further ado, here's my interview with Major Mom. Angela Cody Rouget, MajorMom.biz. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Wes.
So, you know, I got out of the Air Force as a captain, so should I be standing as I do this interview, or can you, put me at ease?
At ease, soldier.
All right. Woo! Thank you very much. Well, I probably would have done it anyway because I got out of the Air Force because I wasn't very good at following instructions. So, you know, but thanks for taking pity on me. So we met online, and somehow our paths crossed with Infusionsoft. But can you give everyone a quick thumbnail sketch of who you are and what you do and how you came to be?
Yes. Well, I was a major in the Air Force, so yes, you needed to salute me when we got in here, reporting in for duty. And what happened was I became a mom. I was 5 months pregnant with my daughter as a major in the Air Force, and pinning on those, gold oak leaf clusters, and thought, hey, a lot of people stay in the Air Force and are moms and have a full career. So I had my first daughter. I'd come home from military duty, and my husband would say, Major Mom is home, and hand me baby Lily because he'd been in with her all weekend while I was away at work. And so I was so happy to see her when I would get home. And then 18 months later, I had my son, And at that point in life, I thought, wow, military life and motherhood are completely incompatible for the kind of mom that I always dreamed of having and being. And so I thought, okay, I came to a really tough place in my career of putting my family first. And any Air Force veterans out there, anybody listening today, I by no means am placing judgment on anybody who's got kids and working and being deployed, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying for me personally, I felt called to something different because the military was my calling for, almost 18 years. And then I felt called to be a mom. Well, guess what happened, Wes? I resigned my commission in the United States Air Force to be a stay-at-home mom.
Uh-huh.
That was the worst decision I ever made.
Whoa.
Oh, just joking. No, I was like, oh, honey, you're making good money in our real estate business. Everything's going fine. I'm going to quit my job. We don't need that money. We can live off less. And literally 5 months after I resigned everything and was going to stay home just for a few years, while they're really, really little, his business tanked.
Was this like 2008, 2009 when the whole real estate thing?
Oh, right before, because in Denver, we popped before you guys did. So it was 2006 when it was like, kaboom!
Mm-hmm.
And then 2006, 7, 8, then it just, just kept on going down.
Right.
So we tried to hang in there and finally had to let almost everything go. And so my husband's like, I think you're going to have to go back to work and do something. And at that point I thought, okay, well, I was a major in the Air Force. I have an MBA. I'll just go back to work. Wrong. No jobs. Nobody was hiring, especially we're not hiring mid-level, upper-level management. And so, to tell you the truth, it got so bad. I said, okay, we gotta go back to the drawing board here. And what came out of that whole catastrophe was, oh, wait a minute. I know what I can do. I love organizing. I love organizing people's homes, their life. I love telling people what to do. I love guiding them and directing them and saying, wait a minute, there's a better way to have this office set up, or you need some systems. And so I thought, gosh, this is a natural gift, but it took me a while to realize it was a gift, and I wanted to share it with the world. So I basically, after everything closed down and we short sold our house and moved into an apartment and downsized and braced for further impact, we started Major Mom, which is a home organizing company. But I started it just by myself. It was just little old me, just organizing homes. And about 5 or 6 homes into it, making good money, and people loved what I was doing. I thought, man, I need to raise up an army of organizers. This is tough work by yourself,
right,
doing this, because we're not cleaning and scrubbing toilets. I mean, we're lifting boxes of books out of basements and saying, you don't need these college textbooks anymore,
right,
or 4.5-inch floppies and all this crazy stuff that we store in our basements. And
okay,
so team.
We have to pause for a minute for the young people listening to the podcast. 4.5-inch floppies are storage devices, kind of like a USB thumb drive, but flatter and hold a lot less.
Bigger.
Yeah, different. Okay, all right. So as you were, please continue.
Okay. They also had Rolodexes, boxes of Rolodexes in their basements. Would you like to explain that one too?
You need to save all the. You need to have like this antique eBay store where you sell all this stuff to collectors.
I know, we have seen stuff from ages past. But I decided this is tough work to do with one person. I need somebody else on the end of that couch so we can redesign this living room, get it organized, get some things in place for this family. And that's when I started saying, okay, I don't have any clue how to be a business owner. I'm barely good at this solo practitioner thing. I was an employee my whole life in the military. But I just thought, I'm called to do this. I'm going to do this. And so I started hiring employees. 6 years later, I have 14 employees. We're in Arizona and Texas and Colorado. And again, I still don't really feel like I know what I'm quite doing, but I don't get wrapped up in the how. I just get wrapped up in the vision, which is what, if an entrepreneur is listening out there today, as an entrepreneur, you got to get wrapped up in your vision and your passion and your cause, because by the grace of God, the how starts coming to you.
All right. So couple of things I want to talk about. So I want to talk about your growth, all right? But let's go back to the very beginning, because we got people listening to this that may be out of work, or maybe they're still in corporate America and are dissatisfied, and they're like, what do I do? And, I'm working on a couple of things from a marketing standpoint. I think it's easier to move up once you've hit rock bottom, right? Because you got nowhere else to go.
Yes.
And so I want to help those people, and this interview I think will help them. But I also want to help people, before they hit rock bottom, right? Like,
Yeah.
how can you keep going? Launch your dream, before you just hit the bedrock. So can you walk us through? So you get this epiphany, right? It's like, hey, I'm good at organizing. Corporate America wasn't hiring. What's the first thing you did? How'd you get the first client? How'd you get the second to launch this new venture?
Well, I think as a human race, sometimes we have to hit rock bottom, and I definitely think that we were there in terms of, what would be rock bottom for us. I mean,
Right.
we have a great lifestyle, and then all of a sudden we have no income. So
That kind of hurts. That's pretty close to rock bottom.
And you can crawl up and die. You can curl up and cry. You can do all kinds of things, which is not going to help you. But if you've hit that rock bottom, what helped me was get really clear on what are you naturally good at, and build a business around what you naturally are good at. Maybe you are naturally good at sales like you, Wes. I know you're in the service, but you've got a gift of selling, and that's your gift. The rest of us have to work darn hard at that.
Well, let me interrupt you real quick, because I think I had an aptitude for selling. But, I was like you. I mean, 4 years at the academy, 5 years active duty. There was no selling, right? I learned how to take orders, not very well, and I learned how to give them. But I was motivated to learn.
Yes.
And so I always say selling is both it's natural, right? Or nature and nurture. It's a little bit of both. But the best salespeople learn the process
Absolutely.
of selling and then grow. But anyway, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, but you've got the package. You've got the desire, the motivation, everything, because you needed to make money for your family, and that spurred you on to figure out what could you really be good at,
right.
And that's creating systems for selling products and services. And so for me, it was organizing and leading people to change, which, I've got awards in the Air Force it was a picture of a boot, and they'd call me the boot because, if some of our officers weren't getting their SOS done, Squadron Officer School, and getting their schooling done, I was like, let's do this, dude. If you're going to retire next year, you deserve to retire as Master Sergeant. And so it was like always coaching and driving people to better themselves, which is when you organize a home or someone's life, that's pretty much what you're doing. And so when you say, well, how did you start this and get your first client? Well, I did what most entrepreneurs do who have no confidence in themselves or their idea. I worked for the first couple clients for free. I donated my services to a silent auction.
Okay.
Let's get this puppy rolling. And somebody bought it. And so they called me and said, hey, I bought your services at this silent auction. Thanks for supporting, our church. And I said, great. So I went over there, rocked her house. She was so happy. We decluttered and we got rid of stuff. We set things up. She loved it. And then she told her friend, and then they told their friend. Then I gave a couple more silent auction certificates away at preschools and, nonprofits. And then there it started to happen. People were talking about my services and saying she's really good. And so definitely not enough to make money, but enough to give me the confidence to say, hey, I actually have a skill set here that I can bring to the marketplace and I can support my family with.
Very cool. So from the time you had that idea to the time you actually made money, was like the first month, after the first lady?
Yeah, 2 months. I as soon as my husband and I really had a talk about, what am I going to do? Couldn't find work. He couldn't find work. I was like, well, I guess we're being called to be entrepreneurs because somehow, some way we have to make this happen. Now, I'll tell you, at the same time, I was waiting tables at a restaurant because I waited tables all through college. I knew how to do it. I knew how to, I have a servant's heart. I don't have a, prideful heart. So here I am, 37 years old, waiting tables with a bunch of teeny boppers. But, it was one of those things where I have to get grocery money, and, we're tapped out on credit cards, and this is what we're going to do. So I waited tables to put food on the table, and then started getting clients and building the business. And, as I was waiting tables, I clearly remember calling in to my boss and saying, I can't come in today because I got an organizing job, which is going to pay me a lot of money compared to what I'm getting paid today at this restaurant. And so he would say, well, we need commitment from you, for the shifts. I said, I totally understand that, but I have to take the higher paying job, which is what I'm building for my life, is this business. So eventually I got let go from the restaurant because as soon as I had a better organizing gig, I would call and say, I can't come in. And there's always tons of people on call at restaurants. So I knew I was not leaving them in a terrible situation. Right. But they also knew, hi, you're a 37-year-old person with an MBA. I'm not going to be around long.
Right.
So that was how I got started.
How did you know how to price your services?
A lot of competitive research. I joined the National Association of Professional Organizers. I would encourage anybody out there listening today, if they are thinking of being in a certain industry, to join the trade association within that industry, because that's where you get a ton of information about your competitors, what you should be pricing yourself at. And even though they give you a range, because it's illegal to tell you what to charge, they'll give you a nice range in the industry. So oh, okay, then I'll figure out what price is going to work in my marketplace. I started off way too low. I was getting a lot of jobs.
Like we all do.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa, okay, they're hiring me like hotcakes, and I can't, this is too much work. So then I raised the price. So it definitely was trial and error. I wish I could say, oh, this MBA served me well, but I made every mistake that's out there and read every book, I think, that was out there to try to prevent more.
I want to go back to I got to take some notes here. I'm typing as we go. You were waiting tables at 37 years old. You were formerly an officer in the Air Force, had your MBA. I went to the Air Force Academy, went to Texas A&M, had 2 degrees, and I always tell people I was laid off more times than I can count. 2 of my kids were born when I was on unemployment because I was always kind of a rebel, and when I didn't like the idiots above me, I would let them know, and they would let me know not to come back to work. So, but you do what you got to do. And I brought this up on the last podcast, where I always say feelings follow action, not the other way around, right? It's like after I'm done with my fetal position, sucking my thumb, I'll go get a job. Yeah. But it's in reverse, right? When you go do something, anything, you feel better because you're doing something.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. I mean, when I would see a couple friends from our church, because I took a job way on the south side of town, hopefully I wouldn't see very many people that I knew. But when I would see people I know, it was kind of one of those moments where it was like, what are you going to do? You're going to go run in the back room and go, oh my gosh, I can't wait on that table. I know those people. I'm so embarrassed. It was just one of those things like, hey, you know what? I am not going to go on unemployment. No offense to anybody. I'm going to make this work out because I have everything that I need and designed in this body to make money for my family. I come from a very long line of very hard workers, very, very educated people. And I think probably the pride of not going on unemployment wasn't even an issue for me because I didn't have a job. I had quit my job out in the Air Force, and unemployment wasn't even an option. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't just get laid off. I quit my career in the service, and so you don't get unemployment when you do that. And so that wasn't even available as a cushion for me. So it wasn't like I'm like, oh, I'm not going to use unemployment. It wasn't even there. And a lot of my friends have used unemployment to, save their lives and keep food on the table, which thank God for some of these social programs during these horrific times. But you're absolutely right in terms of you can have your feelings and they lead to actions, or you can take action and leave these feelings, but you get out there and you do something, which is what I tell my team all the time. If you just go to one networking event and tell one person what you do for a living, guess what? You might actually end up getting work from that because they're going to tell somebody else. But sit home and do nothing, nothing will happen.
I know. When that first happened to me, I was 6 months out of the Air Force and got sideways with this stock brokerage firm that wanted. After I was there 6 months, they said, "Oh, we forgot to have you sign this contract that says you owe us 3 years or $36,000 for your securities license." Right. Well, I already had like 3 of my licenses, and instead of taking 6 months, I was selling within like 3 months. And I was like, hell no, I have a contract with you, and they're like, I had to take them to arbitration, couldn't sue them, took 3 years though, and I won, basically nothing. It was a moral victory, but I was unemployed, had a wife, kid, another one on the way. And I was thinking, oh yeah, I'll find something, and was too proud to get on unemployment right away. And then I finally needed it. But, then I realized, you know what? We pay taxes for that unemployment. So, hey, if you find yourself in that situation, it's like Social Security. You paid for it, go get it. Right?
Absolutely.
But don't count on it.
Don't count on it, getting you through. It's a Band-Aid solution, but it puts food on the table. And there is no reason not to take up things like, using the library, using Social Security, using the things that we pay for. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. So you got your first 5 clients, or like you said, within 2 months, you've done your competitive research, you've got some pricing, you started too low. When did you start raising your prices?
Probably waited much longer than I should have, cover expenses. So I think it took me about a year to really start raising prices.
That long?
Yeah. Yeah, I never said I was smart. I said I do everything. I've made every mistake that an entrepreneur because I was afraid. I was so afraid if I raised my prices that no one would hire me.
Right.
So the fear and the being in that kind of rock bottom situation, unfortunately, hindsight keeps you oppressed longer.
Right. And that, that's some words of wisdom there, right? I mean, you can always raise your prices. There's a couple of things. One, I learned this in real estate when I was buying and investing in real estate. They call it a nuisance raise. So if you have tenants, let's say your rent is $1,000 a month. If you raise it to $1,050, $1,075, kind of like a cost of living adjustment, most people won't leave. If you raise it to $1,200, $1,500 from $1,000, you're going to lose people.
Yeah.
So, but you have to figure out, let's say you go from 1,000 to 2,000. Let's say you double your prices. Well, obviously 50%, you could lose 50% of your clients and still be making the same money.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, obviously it's a sliding scale. You got to figure out the math. But let's say that works. You double prices, so you work half as much as you are and make the same amount of money. It's like, hello.
Yeah.
But people will pay for services. They will pay for exclusivity, and they will pay for experience, right? And like you said, the women that had gotten your services through the auction, they were loving you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if people are singing your praises, it's time to raise your price. You want to be exclusive. And there's just so many studies. I mean, they literally wire people's brains and test this. They've done it with wines, tell them it's a $2 bottle of wine or a $100 bottle of wine, and people actually experience more pleasure when they have something they think is more expensive.
Yeah.
Even if it's the exact same thing. So, please learn from Major Mom and from me. Raise your prices. Raise them today.
Yes.
And, looking back, you probably would, huh?
Oh, yes, I definitely. I mean, I think we're priced right at our Denver market. If we took our prices to a small town, Nebraska, we probably wouldn't work. They're big city prices.
Sure.
Big city Denver. If we took our business to New York, we'd have to raise them because they're not big city prices. And so knowing your marketplace and what the market can bear has also played a big role in our pricing structure. But we work a lot less. We have less clients. And we make more money per client, which is a fine balance when you have a team of employees on an hourly rate. So they want you to bring in more business, and so that's always that we need to keep them busy and gainfully employed. and also have our margins where we need them. So it's a constant, interesting equation, especially when for the first 3 years, every payroll was like, oh, Angela doesn't get a check again because my check went to payroll taxes again.
Mm-hmm.
Help!
So, yeah, the government is kind and benevolent, and you didn't build that. But, hey, I digress. Don't get me on that soapbox.
Yes.
So what made you decide to do employees versus contractors versus like a franchise model?
I decided to do employees because the military model is something I know and I love. It's the best training institution in the world. And I knew I could take a team of women and train them to be the best professional organizers in the industry. And so I created the Major Mom Academy. I decided employees because I want them to wear the camo pants, the white logoed shirt. I want them to use my forms, do it my way, the Major Mom method. And the IRS.gov says every single day of the week that would be considered an employee. So we didn't want to get audited or, try to save some taxes. So we just went straight with the W-2 commissioned employee. Our team, they are commissioned employees. They get paid when they work. But we cover all their taxes and we take all their taxes out and we do the payroll taxes. So that is what we did not understand in the beginning with the business model that would hurt us so badly as when we weren't having a lot of cash flow is you have to pay your employees because that would be illegal not to pay your employees. So the owner and I, mainly myself, went almost a year without a paycheck. Hence, having other side jobs and trying to do other things to make money at the same time.
So, do you pay them like a draw against commission? Is that what you do?
They actually just get paid on an hourly rate based off of how many hours they were in the house. So if we sell a peacekeeper package, that's 11 hours of organizing in a home. They have a timesheet, and they can't get paid for more than 11 hours because the client only paid for 11 hours. So if it takes them 14 hours to get done what they need to get done, that's a situation where they have the client pay for 2 more hours. So we don't lock ourselves in and brick ourselves into a set amount for an office.
Okay.
But they get paid for when they work. So and they can bring in their own clients. They're out networking and selling and trying to bring in their own clients.
Okay. Very cool. So what are you doing now or, in the last few years to grow and market and expand? What are you seeing that's working for you now?
Well, what was not working was not having our marketing and sales automated, which is why we chose Infusionsoft was because, we have 10 employees out there going to a networking event. They went to a networking event. They showed up in their uniforms because we wear our camo pants everywhere with our white T-shirts. It's a great brand. People love it. And they see we're friendly and fun. And they'll always say, what's Major Mom? So it starts the conversation. So you're out there.
So do your kids actually say your mom wears combat boots?
No, my kids know who Major Mom is, that's for sure.
All right. I could go on a whole other tangent of your mama jokes, but I won't do that either. All right.
They sometimes wear camo and stuff like that to be fun, but the kids know that we're raising up this army of organizers and we want to have a national brand, and they're very supportive. We've had camera people to our house, videoing our house and videoing our family about this major in the Air Force, missiles to mom to organizer, and something wonderful is about to happen. But what I realized, Wes, was we had no automation in our marketing. So even though they were out looking cute and nice and pretty or whatever, they weren't getting any jobs. I'm like, well, did you ask anybody for their information, or what did you do with those business cards? What did you do with them?
They're wrapped around securely with a rubber band in my left-hand top drawer.
Yeah, there they are. They're there, and the drawer's filling up with cards. So we would finally say, within 24 hours, you have to send them an email. And so, again, manual, you have to send them an email. You have to reach out to them. You have to milk this cow. And so, do something. And what would happen is they're awesome professional organizers. They're awesome people, but there was no system in place for them to convert those warm market contacts into any kind of lead or referral based people.
Right.
And so, I won this coaching program for 9 months, which is the real answer to your question is what made me start automating. I won a Capital One supports female veterans. Sorry, guys. And they just chose women for some reason. And I was selected as one of the winners, a women veteran entrepreneur. And I've been in coaching for now 6 months. And basically my business coach was like, so how long are you going to wait to automate and get this CRM going? I said, well, I've already waited 5 years. It clearly is no hurry. And then she said, yeah, she was like, well, how much money do you think you're leaving on the table by not having this automation in place for your team where the contacts go into your system and they get an email and then we have a drip campaign and all this. And I was like, gosh, I thought I was doing good because I had my monthly newsletter going out on time. But I think I'm leaving money on the table and we're paying for these networking events to get nothing out of them. And so I thought, we're leaving money on the table. I don't know, maybe $5,000 a month, maybe.
Ouch.
Yeah. So she said, well, by the end of this call, you need to pick your CRM and you need to decide what it's going to be and you need to implement it. And this was in November, I believe,
right.
October. And I said, by the end of this call, well, you've been looking at CRMs, right? And I said, yes, I've been looking at them for years. Salesforce.com, Infusionsoft, HubSpot. I mean, Goldmine, Act. I mean, I never knew that I could go into analysis paralysis because I'm not a perfectionist. But, when you don't have a lot of funds, you're like, oh, man, I need to choose the right one. Because you knew if you got it all set up and it wasn't working, you'd feel like, oh, man, I made a mistake in front of my whole team. And so she basically said, you're leaving money on the table by not working that warm market and closing those leads, and pick one right now. And I just looked at her through the webcam because it was a web coaching. I literally felt nauseous and sick. I thought, I cannot believe I've hired this coaching program. Just terrible. Make decisions like this.
Yep.
So, and they pushed me on a lot of other things to do a lot of change. I've made some really neat tweaks and changes to the business over time. And I just blurted out, really. I wish I could say that it was all my analysis that came to the correct conclusion, but maybe deep down inside my wisdom knew that Infusionsoft was the system for us to become, generate the revenues that we need to generate, have the systems in place for my poor team that is not doing the manual stuff. And I just blurted out like, Infusionsoft. She's like, okay, get it set up, before our next call. So I signed up before the next call. Set up, not so much, but right. I signed up. Step one, check. Now,
gotta get started.
Got to get started. And, we've sent out our first newsletter through Infusionsoft. We see amazing power behind it. And, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will the whole marketing and sales system.
Right. But, the interesting thing that you talked about was, and I get on people all the time. And, I do a lot with Infusionsoft. I'm actually in talks with HubSpot. I have used Salesforce.com since 2004. Really, the main thing is, A, make a decision, and B, stick with it until you master it.
Yeah.
Now, for the truly small business, like you start out with one person, Salesforce.com is not it. It's made for bigger businesses, so there's some things that need to be in place there. But, yeah, pick something and go use the heck out of it, but before you decide whether something's wrong or right. But I think what you had going in your favor was that you recognized that you needed a process and you started to document things. Because I tell people, process before login, figure this out on paper, and that'll help you make your decision what system to pick, in the future. But so many people, we'll sit down and say, all right, what are we going to automate today? You're like, I don't know. It's like, do you have a newsletter on your website? Do you want them to get a free report, 7 tips to organizing? I mean, how are you going to generate leads? How do you want to follow up? Do you want to follow up with old clients? Do you want to create a wow experience for brand new clients? Where do you want to start? And people are like, I don't know. And, we'll usually end the call early, and I'll send them back. It's in my book on the Infusionsoft. I had a guy, Chad Kuzner, he was on my podcast a while back, and he went to his whiteboard and sketched it all out, and he took a picture with his phone and emailed it to me. He said, all right, this is my process. I said, cool. We can automate that. But until you, the client, you, the business owner, have it documented, no software is going to help you.
Yeah, that's true. And that's when I did my Infusionsoft startup. I knew exactly what I needed Infusionsoft to start doing immediately to justify the expense. And the first thing was to replace Constant Contact. I'm like, right. Numero uno. Let's just get the newsletter going first. Got to replace Constant Contact. So that cost bucket goes back into Infusionsoft. And then, number two, warm networking, out there networking, entering business cards and having a drip system. It's like you got to know as a business owner, what in the world are you wanting this thing to do? Maybe you don't know how. That's not that. Again, the how isn't important. You hire help for that. But what do you want? I totally agree with you. If you don't know what you want, you got a bigger problem.
Right. So how did you end up with employees in 3 different states?
Well, it's just so funny how things just work out this way. But 3 of my employees, their husbands got transferred and moved. And so one moved to Seattle, Washington, and we're trying to get something going up there. One moved to Texas, and we're almost got her up and running in Texas. And then we, through a friend of a friend, we hired somebody in Phoenix. And so somebody said, oh man, I'd love to start a Major Mom location here. So I thought, okay, that's how we're going to do it. We'll get legal in the States. We hired a corporation that acts as your registered agent in each state. Talk to a couple lawyers. I don't do anything without talking to a lawyer for at least an hour. Yeah. I got to say, I have $250 for 1 hour of your time.
Yeah.
So tell me exactly what I need.
Talk fast, brother.
Yeah. Don't mess with my cash flow, buddy. So it's like, it's all I got. It's all right. You got. And so I've learned the hard way over time with some kind of by the hour professionals. It's like, okay, I only have this much, and this is what needs to happen during this. So whatever you need to do, talk fast. Right. But after getting a couple $5,000 and $12,000 bills, it's like,
Duh.
We didn't even get the contract finished. Go in there. I'm going to have to hurt you.
Right.
You get that operating agreement, and it better be done.
Right.
For $12,000, things like that. So you just kind of start learning. We're going to have to put some boundaries on this because I can't have my cash flow walking out the door and then can't pay my employees.
Right.
That's how we got employees, is they kind of just started moving and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to stay with Major Mom. I'm like, we'll just open up that state then. We'll just make it easy for you to stay with the company, and that's how we'll start growing.
Cool. So what are your plans? Are you going to try to expand into other states? Or are you going to just solidify what you've got? I mean, how are you moving forward?
Well, the Major Mom vision statement is to be the most respected and known organizing company nationally and internationally. So that was our vision statement 5 years ago. So we started with the end in mind, knowing that we were going to make this a national brand. Hence the incredible juncture that I'm at now to put systems in place with Infusionsoft and workflow documentation. But I knew that we were going to grow national. The how, had no idea. I knew I didn't want a franchise. I knew that the franchise model was not for me. I don't want to control the individual owners of those businesses that much. I also don't want to take a ton of money from them and they're not making money. I just don't know a lot of people that are happy in franchising unless they own 25 stores.
Right.
They aren't making money. They're losing money. So I'm like, I want to stay out of that arena. So I find myself at the same juncture of, do I license the location, do licensing, which gives the owner in San Diego a lot of freedom? Or do I just stay corporate owned, try to raise capital and, just raise up people by myself? The problem is staying corporate and trying to do everything by myself with my team prevents me from being the mom that I was designed to be and want to be.
Right.
So that's why licensing becomes the model between franchising and staying corporate owned. I think it's the best of both worlds at this point.
Right. So what are you doing marketing wise, what's working? Like little tips. I mean, is it Facebook? Is it just pressing the flesh, hitting Chamber of Commerce events? You're running ads.
I think oh my goodness. Our marketing plan for 2013 was 6 pages long. Our marketing plan for 2014 is 7 pages long. I mean, we went to a marketing expert at the beginning of the year. We always try to meet with a couple of marketing experts to say, what are we missing here?
Right.
Because we have aggressive revenue goals. We need to get these goals met so we can grow as a company. And she looked at our social media marketing. She looked at, we don't do a lot of print advertising, but we do in a couple neighborhood magazines because we're kind of in there already. So
sure.
We have a lot of clients in that neighborhood, so we do a little bit of print advertising. Our website needs to become a better conversion tool, but we basically follow up with the people that we.
I love hearing that.
It's flesh marketing. It's unfortunate that we actually convinced ourselves that we could do it any other way than any other business out there. But our website isn't going to bring in enough business just with the website. We need people to know who we are. And joining networking groups and associations are a big part of our marketing plan. Our 4-page marketing plan in 2012 has grown to 7 pages, which means teaching more workshops, speaking around the metropolitan area to nonprofits like the Rotary Club and the Lions Club. Just having those opportunities to be in front of an audience and letting them know what you do. We have 14 workshops scheduled for this year on different facets of organizing. I mean, we really are ready to generate revenue and create revenues for our employees so that they can have the life that they want as well. So
what are these workshops? Are they free workshops?
Yes.
Where do you host them? Do you find you rent a venue? Do you get somebody to?
Well, we host them at our office in Greenwood Village, which is the tech center in Denver. So Greenwood Village is a nice, nice city. We have an office there, a little tiny office, and a training room that we share with another company. So we host all of our workshops at that training place. But we also get invited to teach the workshops at in-home parties. So someone will go, oh, man, that was a good workshop. I've got a group of girlfriends that would love to hear that. So we'll go to their house. They'll have wine and cheese and stuff, and we'll give the same fun, inspirational workshop to their ladies, and then we get clients out of that. So our free workshops have been our number 2 source of clients. Our website is still number 1, and it could probably be a lot stronger if we actually created it to be a conversion tool. We get a lot of flack on our website, like, this is not a conversion tool. So even though our clients love our website and say, we picked you because of your website, our sales and marketing people say, but it's not really a conversion tool. You're missing major opportunities. So we need to work on that. But I cannot tell you how much we market. And for the last 5 years, market and not really closing things, not good for a company. Very, very bad.
That's why it's sales and marketing.
Yes. Sales and marketing people. You're forgetting to ask for the job, or you're forgetting to contact anyone. And so finally, when I got in this coaching program, I'm like, I just don't understand. We're just going at a turtle's pace here, growing, and I'm over it. I'm tired of it. We got to get somewhere this year. And we just kicked it in gear. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I have one of the first things I ever created with the sales was the 7 deadly sins of selling. And one of them is we are freaked out about money. But I mean, we grow up not understanding money.
Yes.
We don't know how much money our parents made, or they wouldn't talk about it. You don't ask your parents, how much does the house cost? How much did our car cost? How much was dinner, Dad? Even today, people if they're buying dinner, they'll cover up the receipt when they're signing it. It's like we're ashamed to talk about money, but then we get into business, you can't be ashamed to talk about money. Money is just a convenient medium of exchange, of value, right? So your effort's for mine. And so if you're making a lot of money, it means you're providing a lot of value to people. So
to tell you something I'm going to tell you something that you probably already know, and the listeners out there, I really hope if you hear nothing else on this podcast, you hear this. I work for a lot of business owners, and I organize their office. I help them set up systems because that's just something I know how to do. We do residential organizing mainly, but I have a couple of side clients. And I can tell you how many of my clients do not invoice their clients. They're not bringing in the money. They're working their tail off. They forget to send the invoices. Then they get the next client and then the next client, and they never invoice the other client. So then they try to invoice the client. I finally get in there and get everything all organized. I'm like, you need to send these invoices out. We got to get a bookkeeper in here and get these sent out. Well, some of them, this is lawyers, this is accountants, this is salespeople. It doesn't matter what industry. You would be appalled at how many people work their tail off and never get paid. And never get paid because they never ask for the money. And this is a phenomenal experience just watching it from my side, which taught me a lot when I created my rules of engagement for our service agreement. We say 50% down. We don't come work until we have the 50% down.
Amen.
We got to have money on both sides. And, we take then it's shared risk, hoping they pay us the rest at the end. But asking for the full amount sometimes is not kosher. So, you just try to find what's going to work, and because we want to be in their homes for the rest of their life, so we have to show that we trust them too, right?
Sure.
You find this, all right, you got to put a deposit down, and then before we leave, we don't invoice clients. The day we're done with that organizing job, we're like, check, please.
Yep.
We don't leave the site without the credit card or the check. And I could say that I probably learned how important that was by all my clients who don't collect any money.
I know. And
disorganization. That's it. And a fear of asking for the money.
So, a couple of things. I would say don't call it a deposit, call it a retainer, right? And then, I would say, hey, here's how we roll. Let's say it's a $500 job, right? Say, look, you have two ways to pay, 50% down and then 50% upon completion. Or let's say, or we offer a 10% discount for those that pay in full up front.
Oh, I like that.
So now it's $450, right? But you get it all up front. So give them a couple of options. But it's the old story of the old drugstore malts. Like when they put eggs in the malts, back in the day, right? So the drugstore owner wanted to make more money, and so he wanted an upsell, right? Basically, would you like fries with that? So they'd say, would you like an egg with that? And go, no, I don't want an egg. So they wouldn't make an upsell. So they just changed the verbiage to say one egg or two. People are like, two? So you just by changing that up, here's how we roll. Half down, half when we're done, or pay in full and save 10%, save 5%, save 7%. Whatever the numbers work for you.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised. People will pay up front. And, because I've kind of experienced what you've experienced. With me starting out, I always got paid 50% to 100% up front. Now, as I've expanded my team and we're doing bigger projects that, take weeks and even months to complete, we'll kind of do it in phases, maybe 30%, or in thirds. And I kind of step out at that point because I'm not a project guy. That I have a team leader. She'll actually come to me and say, we need your help on this, this, and this. But I'm amazed at, these are super pros at what they do. But they admit, I'm not good with money. They're kind of freaked out about invoicing people. I'm like, oh, I'll send it. Is the work done? Oh, let's get the money.
Yeah.
You got to get paid.
It's amazing how many people are out there who work for free and who don't get paid. And admittedly, the entrepreneurs that are out there listening, I think everybody started, Jack Canfield said, he spoke for free for a long time. And then he got $100 and he got $500 and then he got $5,000. Nobody starts at $50,000.
Right.
But you got to start somewhere, but you don't stay there long.
Right. You
stay in the free realm long. It just for a little while until you're like, all right, I'm good at this.
Exactly. You got to get over your money issues.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I thank you for sharing all these tips. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
I think the final words of wisdom would be, no matter where you are in your entrepreneurial dreams, whether you're still working as a W-2 employee or a 1099, don't let go of that dream. Find advisors that can help you make that dream come to fruition. So I guess what I'm trying to say, Wes, is if you try to do it all by yourself all the time, so to save money, and you don't get smart people around you, it's going to take a really long time to make the good money that you need to make, because you're not surrounding yourself with CPAs and sales professionals and lawyers and people who can just help you cut through all the confusion of starting a business. Trying to do it yourself all the time and having no coaches and no help really actually cost you more money in the long run.
Yeah. Amen. Well, thank you for taking the time, and I look forward to following your growth.
Yes, thank you, Wes, and I look forward to using your services more and having you help us grow.
Amen. Come on down to Southern Cal, do a little wine tasting, and we'll do some Infusionsoft planning.
Ready to open Major Mom, we'll do it.
You might want to stay out of California. This is a crazy state for business. But again, I digress. I'll stay off that soapbox.
I won't move to California. I'll just have somebody out there licensed to do it. See, I'll stay out of there.
It's a great place to visit.
All right. Well, have fun at InfusionCon or Infusion, whatever that thing is called.
Yep. Coming up in April. I will.
Yeah. Have fun.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye.
So how did you like Angela's story, huh? She's 37 years old waiting tables. Why? Because they needed the money, and she knew that motion beats meditation. I always talk about that. Going out and doing something will bring about the desired feelings, not the other way around. It was a little bit embarrassing. She talked about how she would work in a suburb far away from her where she lived, so she wouldn't see people, but she did see people that she knew, and she just lived with it. But it made her tough, made her stronger, brought in some money. But, she talks about it. They waited too long. Her husband's job in real estate just collapsed. When they hit rock bottom, they finally pulled themselves up, followed her passion. She focused on the vision, didn't get all caught up in the how, and she's making it happen. So I hope you take a lot out of that. The tips she provided, her personal story is motivation. Go back and listen to it again. There's a little tidbit on podcasts through iTunes. You can listen to these at double speed, and it still sounds pretty good. I recommend you do that. Listen to this twice at double speed rather than once. You're going to get a lot more out of it. As always, I thank you for listening. Please leave a comment on iTunes. Give me a 5-star rating. Give me an honest rating if you don't think it's worth 5 stars. Leave comments here on the website. Share it with a friend. Be active on this website. The more you share it, the more I get the word out. Honestly, the more income I make from affiliate links and things like that, which gives me more time to put back into additional free resources that you can grow with and from. So thanks for listening. And remember, sell different.